Thanks for joining us today for part two of our three-part series about craft beer. The topic we'll cover today is how to stay relevant with your audience. There are currently four different generations in the over 21 demographic, but one specific generation is leading the charge. They're called the Millennials. Choice is the key, and that paired with their constant hunger for new experiences and the ability to share those experiences with the world are areas in which you can and should be capitalizing on for your business. We're excited to share some interesting insights on how you can tap into the millennial generation's interests and spending habits. Just to introduce myself, I'm Andy the Beerman Coppock. I've been in the hospitality and beverage industry for over 20 years. Worked front of the house, back of the house, have worked in beer sales, worked for Green Flash Brewing Company, Stone Brewing Company, was the lead bartender and beverage coordinator, oversaw the draft programs as well as staff training, education, proper service, proper glassware. And for the last 2 years, I've been the national accounts manager here at Tap Hunter. Roughly, they're any person born between 1980 and 2000. This is the generation that, remember, has never been without choice when it comes to travel, technology, and for our purposes, most importantly, beer. A key driver in this demographic is what is kind of jokingly known as the $30,000 millionaire. Uh, they want luxury, they're willing to spend on it, but they still have to manage their budget. Craft beer is one of those luxury items that millennials have definitely shown a willingness to spend their dollars on. Uh, they really want new and different things as well. They like beer, but not their grandparents' beer. Really, this is the generation again that has never been with. Beer is held strong throughout the years. It's kind of a generational thing. This one's different than previous, and they're seeking out new options. 87% of the millennials had a beer last week. That's kind of crazy. More telling is that 94% will try a new beer on a monthly basis, and 54% of those will try a new beer on a weekly basis. Again, they want choice. Half of the craft beer drinkers express interest in locally made beer, a quarter are interested in purchasing craft beer where it's brewed, and another 39% are influenced to purchase when they can relate to the personality of the brand. The best news is they're not just open to try new things, but they're really actively seeking out additional options, and they love recommendations from their friends and potentially your staff as well. To take that a step further, almost half of what millennials are drinking is craft. Light beer comes in second place across the board. According to craftbrewingbusiness.com, craft beers have found a way to appeal to 47% of millennials and 40% of Gen Xers, yet just 29% of baby boomers and 22% of the greatest generation or the swing generation. If you're not focusing on that greater majority, you're missing out on serious opportunity. Let's face it, your audience is changing. The older generations, which has always been the marketing focus, they're not getting any younger, and the numbers show their tastes aren't really changing either. Someone who's turned 21 in the last 15 years, I've hammered this point home before, they've always had multiple beverage choices. Unlike me, when I turned 21, you didn't have much choice. Now there's hundreds of craft beers out there for them to try. The millennials are walking away from mass-produced beers in droves, and they're continually looking for unique flavors and new experiences. If your bar or restaurant is not offering or is offering those things, you can kind of create a mini revolution for yourself and reach out to that millennial audience. Everybody loves Super Bowl ads. Sometimes they're funny, witty, poignant, and some of them are just kind of dumb, but we all watch them. The difference is the millennial generation is not responding the same way as previous generations. Less than 10% of millennials are making their purchasing decisions based on ads. Something that needs to be addressed is that craft beer and craft spirits really don't advertise. It's very much a word of mouth thing. Word of mouth is probably one of the biggest factors in the growth of craft, and social media has changed the way that we consume our information. Social media is really just word of mouth with a gigantic audience. Millennials are insatiable when it comes to sharing those experiences, as well as having an opinion on brands and issues. They're 5 times more likely to be influenced by word of mouth than traditional beer marketing. An incredible 80% of the generation lets their friends know about what they're drinking, via social media, be it an app. They want to be out there. Not only that, 41% have engaged directly with a craft brand via new technology, and 70% have liked or shown interest in a craft beer brand via social media. If your bar does not have a consistent presence on social media, now's the time to dive headfirst, start sharing, and shaping the information where it counts. Just to kind of compare this millennial generation with others, 56% of all millennials say they are the first to try new technology, while just 35% of other generations will wait a year or more before trying new technology. And 22% will admit that they wait until technology has become mainstream before adopting it at all. So get on Facebook, social media. Having a mobile presence is really key. Millennials are connected to their phones, they're lost without them, and they use them as their main vehicle for information and influence. We mentioned earlier that a smaller amount of millennials are making their beer choices based on advertising. Now that you're aware of that, this knowledge can and should be a catalyst to rethink how you're marketing to that demographic. If you take a look around this little bar here, it looks like advertising from the same guys that spend millions and millions on Super Bowl ads, right? You may be getting free stuff, free signage, free swag. We all do. But those things aren't necessarily helping your bottom line. They're not drinking more of that brand because they see a sign. We're not saying get rid of domestics. Just reiterating that millennials really want to have choice. By varying your selections, you can capture more millennial dollars. To capture this audience, consider increasing that social media presence. Let your patrons know that you understand craft beer and you're going to offer what they want. They're connected to their phones and they're the most social generation with the greatest amount of so-called friends in a social media capacity with the most access to technology. If you aren't appealing to the millennials, this generation, you're missing out on free exposure, and they also live to share those experiences. Almost every millennial engages with hundreds, if not thousands, of contacts on a day-to-day basis. They share their likes, their dislikes, their favorite beers, their favorite bars, and they want to be the first with everything. So what's a great way for you to tap into this audience and turn it into tangible dollars? Host more special events. Get out there again on social media. Promote your beer dinners, tap takeovers, keep the glass night. They feed into that crowd, and they also grow your bar's exposure. Use the tools at hand for your mobile and media presence. A lot of millennials won't even visit your website, believe it or not. They'll go to your social media outlet. They'll follow your Facebook page, your Twitter, your Instagram. Use those tools to draw in the audience. And this is a really big piece. Educate your staff. 1 out of 3 drinkers, craft beer drinkers even, will ask advice from their server. They might like craft, but they also want to try something new or learn something new. 45% of craft drinkers would be much more open to trying different beer if they had more information about the beer. Consider training your staff to offer the craft brands first and recommend beer pairings with entrees. On average, the craft drinker spends $86 per check versus $73 per check when buying food with beer. Both groups average that 17% tip, but craft drinkers are tipping off a higher base. This translates to more money, not only for you, the bar owner, but for your servers, for your bartenders as well. And once they realize they're going to make more money selling craft beer, then it's a win-win for everybody. Most restaurants, spend a big focus on making sure the staff knows the food menu backwards and forwards. They should also be stressing knowledge of the beer menu and potential pairings as well. Suggestive selling is huge. If your server suggests a beer to pair with a dish, the likelihood goes up dramatically that the patron will actually purchase that option. There are great resources out there. The Brewers Association has some great information on pairing different foods with different beers, your local distributors, or you can even use the simple infographic, which just kind of covers some basics of pairing knowledge. Look, you don't have to know what hop or what malt goes into a beer. Generalities can be enough most times. Like as the chart shows, IPAs go well with spicier foods. Ambers and brown ales go well with grilled or roasted meats. Great with burgers. A little bit of knowledge goes a long way to growing your beverage program. And changing your menu categorization can be a game changer for you as well. Instead of separating your menu offerings by like domestic, craft, imports, think about rearranging it a little bit, organized by light, crisp, malt, hoppy, fruity. Kind of give those flavor descriptors. Getting somebody to think more about the flavor can be a catalyst to try a new beer they may not have noticed before. Most consumers know what flavors they like, and reorganizing your menu could open up some new doors to sell more craft beer for you. Um, Millennials, in a nutshell, kind of winding it down a little bit, they want guidance. They're not afraid to ask questions. They love trying new things, and your staff can guide them through those new experiences. If you do those things, you're going to increase your sales. You're going to manage a happier staff because they're making more money. You're going to give your patrons what they want, which is continuous learning and a winning experience to share with the world. So, in review, who are the millennials? They're 21 to 35. They've got that disposable income, but not extravagant. The $30,000 millionaire, and they're always looking for the next big thing. Why? Because they've never been without choice. They love sharing their experiences, and they're the earliest adopters to technology. And how do you reach them? You vary your list, you train your staff, engage them via the mobile and social media sides of things, and give them the choice they've been looking for.
All right, thank you, Andy. Super, super helpful. So now we're gonna roll into our quick Q&A sesh. So let me pull up the questions we have here. All right, so our first question is, most of my patrons are over 40. How do I reach them?
Well, I mean, I don't know if age is really that important. I mean, I'm over 40 as well. I like trying new things. Again, you don't have to have the most esoteric list. You don't have to have the newest, latest, greatest bourbon barrel aged peanut butter pumpkin stout. Have some craft options, some more approachable beers. You'd be surprised how many people, male, female, from 21 to 50, will try something new if it's familiar for them. That's why I suggested doing the menus kind of in a little bit different categorization. Light, crisp, malt. So your lighter beer drinker, your Guinness drinker may have a craft option there instead. Just because they're over 40 doesn't mean they don't like craft beer, or there's not a potential to sell them a craft beer. It's definitely there for you.
Cool, thanks, Andy. Our next question here says, I want to do more craft-focused events, but I'm not really sure where to start.
Well, there's so many things you can do as far as craft focus. Work with the folks in your kitchen. Chances are they're going out and drinking beer after work. They know the flavor profiles they like. Utilize the staff that you have at hand. If you don't have an event person, maybe pull a couple hours from one of your sharper servers or bartenders to help you plan some of those events, to reach out to people in their age group that are going to be able, to pull in via craft, whether it's a beer dinner, whether it's a beer and cheese pairing, perhaps beer and chocolate. You'd be surprised how well beer and chocolate go together. You can draw folks in there. Keep the glass nights we mentioned. Work with your local distributors, tap takeovers. Believe me, your local distributors will bend over backwards to make sure that you have the beer you need for cool beer events. And actually, your distributor reps and your smaller, self-distributed craft reps are also more than willing and pretty well educated on the food side of things. They'll gladly help you plan dinners, plan events, and maybe even get you some of that swag we talked about.
All right, we have our last question here. And again, if you have any more questions, feel free to respond to the email tomorrow and I'll have Andy reach out to you directly. So our last question here says, I get that social media is important, but I'm not the techiest person. Any tips here?
Well, not everybody's techie. I understand that, but social media is generally pretty straightforward and tends to be relatively user friendly. Again, reach out to your staff. your bar staff, your server staff, even well, your hostesses. They're probably the youngest people in the building, and they're also probably the most technologically savvy. So if it means paying them an extra couple hours a week to update your social media for you or help you with that, it's a really good investment. Uh, get on Facebook. Definitely have a Twitter presence, Instagram. People are using Instagram more and more every day, especially from a consumer standpoint. Restaurants posting pictures of their beer, just posting cool pictures of your place. People having fun at your place. Let people know that it's a really cool place to hang out, that you've got a good vibe, and they see that and they're attracted to it and they're going to want to come in. So definitely, again, utilize the resources that you have. You've got staff that knows this stuff probably much better than I do, and I do this stuff for a living. So utilize that staff and definitely tap into the resources that you have.
All right. Well, that wraps up our Q&A session. Thanks so much for everyone who joined us. You'll be receiving a recording of this webinar tomorrow. We also hope to see you in our last webinar. So now we're going to roll into a quick Tap Hunter product demonstration. So if you're already familiar with the Tap Hunter tools or you're a current Tap Hunter customer, feel free to drop off now. But if you're interested in learning how Tap Hunter can help you out, then you can stay on for the next 5 or so minutes.
Cool. Hey, thanks again, Kara. Really appreciate it. And thanks everybody for attending. For those of you that aren't familiar with Tap Hunter, we'll just kind of do a real quick overview of what we do and how we can help you reach out to that millennial generation. Tap Hunter is really a beverage management and marketing platform. Our goal is to streamline a lot of the repetitive tasks that even professional social media people have to go through on a day-to-day basis. We want to save you time and help you sell more. Really, our mission, again, engage your customers via mobile, via social media. Help educate your staff. Again, that staff education we talked about is very important. If they know what you're pouring and at least have a basic knowledge of the beer or the beer style, it's going to be an easier sell for them. Again, sell more drinks, grow your fan base, and again, engage them, keep them coming back, because engagement is what we've talked about so much with the millennial generation. They want people to value them and engage them. It's a really straightforward platform. As I like to say, you change the keg, we take care of everything else. But really, a single update from your Tap Hunter dashboard. You can update your website in real time, update your social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and if you're doing our digital displays, you can update your digital chalkboards, again, in real time. If you're printing menus, you can print your menus directly from the platform. So literally, it's a one-stop shop for managing and marketing your entire beverage program, not just beer, but spirits and cocktails as well. And you can do your beer menu literally in one click as far as the printing side of things. These are pretty standardized menus. Again, you can kind of break things up in different categories. The one here in the center, they're more by style. I do strongly recommend you do it by those flavor profiles that we talked about. If you have any questions about that, shoot us a note and we'll make sure that we include that for you as well. So printing's super easy, because I know it can be kind of a pain updating that spreadsheet or that Word doc. This really streamlines that process for you. Digital drink boards. I've had plenty of experience falling off ladders trying to update chalkboards. So this is a great way, not only from a safety perspective, but it's also just a really clean, slick look for you as well. Basically turning existing TVs into digital chalkboards. And again, you can do just your beer list. You can do your beer and spirit list. You can do it with or without pricing. A lot of flexibility on how these are done. We have a little device called a Framboise. It plugs into the back of your TV through the HDMI port and basically turns it into a digital chalkboard. So it's a great way to really streamline that process as well. For the website, even though millennials are more likely to go to your Facebook page than your website, it's still a really valuable tool, especially from the mobile perspective. So we'll give you a line of code, plug it into your website, kind of set it and forget it. It's going to pull our data feed, translate it into the language of your website. So you're going to have a live real-time menu on your website all the time. And social media tools, this is great. Even if you're not super tech savvy and not social media savvy, we'll cover the main points of your Facebook and your Twitter for you. Every time you update your beer list, once you integrate Tap Hunter into your Twitter account, it'll update all of your followers as soon as you change your beer list. So it's pretty instantaneous for you there. You can post directly to Facebook from the platform as well. And then we also give you a live integrated menu embedded in your Facebook fan page as well. Mentioned earlier, millennials are just as likely to go to your Facebook page as your website. That way they've got a menu right there. They can see what you're pouring in real time. And again, increase that customer engagement. Use the mobile tools. Our Tap Hunter mobile tools, they can follow your location. And once they follow your location, they're instantly updated every time you update your beer, spirit, or cocktail list. So it's instant engagement, which they love. They can follow individual brands as well. So if they're a fan of Maker's Mark, they can follow Maker's Mark, and if you do a Maker's Mark cocktail, they get notified. They can follow individual beers and beer styles. Sculpin IPA, probably one of the most searched for beers on our platform. If I follow that beer, I get notified every time someone within a set radius near me puts that on. So again, that instant engagement with fans that are looking for particular beers and beer styles. We'll also pull all that information into some usable data for you. We'll see what beer you're being found by. We'll see how you're getting your exposure via the Tap Hunter mobile app, via the Tap Hunter website. We have over 200,000 downloads of the mobile app. We still get 70,000 plus monthly visitors to the web looking for information on bars and beers as well. We'll see what beers they're finding you by, what days of the week they're searching, what are the top new beers in the platform. A lot of really good information that can help with your buying decisions as well. And that's really the nuts and bolts of it. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. If you're interested in learning even more about Tap Hunter, would like to get a free demo, you can log on to gettaphunter.com. You can shoot Kara an email, kara@taphunter.com. And be sure to join us for our final webinar in this series, part 3, how to make craft beer work for you. We're going to get into a little bit more of the nuts and bolts of really making it profitable for you as well. That's going to be on June 2nd, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thanks and cheers.